Today's plain talk is about your credit card's interest rate and whether you should care about it. Why am I even bringing this up? Well, the other day I posted a little video online about credit card interest rates and discussed how the interest rate average is at 20% APR. And then somebody in the comments was like, "Oh, John, where are you getting your data from? I have a credit card that has 6% interest rate." And let me tell you, when I read that comment, I was like, wow, you are so dumb. You are so incredibly dumb. You're hurting my soul. Because if you use a credit card correctly, you should not care about the interest rate. I would not personally care if my credit card's interest rate was 100%. Let me explain why. First, let's go ahead and discuss the hard truth here. Credit cards have a wicked high percentage rate, APR. Now, APR is different than APY. APR, annual percentage rate, does not factor in compound interest. APY, annual percentage yield, does. So in reality, if you see a credit card offering 20% APR, it's more expensive than 20% if you keep carrying a balance. And don't just take LendingTree's word for the average APR. Let's go ahead and look at Bankrate, who's been tracking the 3 months trends of current credit card interest rates. Oh, look, around 19 and 20%. It's a ludicrously high interest rate. And here's the quick note on the APR. This is from Experian, a major credit company. Quote, credit card interest is typically compounded daily, which means your credit card issuer charges interest to your account each day based on its average daily balance. Note, not annually, not APR, but they're subdividing the APR over 365 days so that they can crank up your credit card debt as fast as possible. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? You're welcome, credit card companies. They're so kind. Now, to the credit of the person who was like, "Oh, John, I got a 6% APR on my credit card. I'm so smart, so smart." Oh, look, I'm so smart too. Here is the 13 best 0% interest credit cards. Heck, there are some credit cards that allow you to skip paying any interest rate all the way until 2024. Here's a list of them. They're bragging about the intro APR. Do you know what you're not paying attention to? Rewards. Actually benefiting from credit card use. If you're worried about paying credit card debt, you're already drowning financially. You're trying to delay the inevitable doom of that interest rate. And to be blunt, even if I had a 6% APR credit card, that's still 6%. That's a lot of money. I don't want to be paying that. I don't want to be shackled by the financial industry and to have my life spent making them money. I want my money working for me. That's the problem here. You should not be proud of a low APR because you should never have to pay a low APR. If you want to brag about credit cards, you brag about the rewards and the fact that you always pay it off. For example, I get 2% back on all my purchases. Isn't that nice? I make a little bit on using my credit card. People who are like, I have 6% interest rate on my credit card are losing money by using their credit card. I'm getting 2% back. Now note, for how credit cards make money, they make money on every transaction you do by charging the merchant, who then jacks up the price on all their goods to compensate for that fee. So when you see a price at a grocery store, know that all the credit card companies are making it more expensive than it needs to be because the merchants have to pay for the credit card's network. But still, I get to get back a little bit of that bonus cost via my rewards. I get to accrue. I get to, using rewards, take back money from the finance industry instead of giving them interest. Full disclaimer, by the way, my credit card, Citi double cash back. Try to be transparent about what my brokerage is, what my bank account is. And now that we're talking about my credit card, Citi double cash back. I really like it. Works really well for me. But it may or may not work for you. Go do your research. I'm sure I'll talk about it in another video. Excellent. Also, it is not hard to find best credit cards. You're going to need to do your research. You'll notice that mine doesn't end up on this list, but I am very happy with it because I would rather burn myself on a hot stove than actually have to have any financial products with Wells Fargo. If you're worried about paying credit cards interest rates, then you are somebody who shouldn't have a credit card. You just shouldn't have a credit card. It's okay not to have a credit card. It is a vastly overvalued product. And unfortunately, most people who have a credit card shouldn't have one if we look at the data. First, in the United States, we have nearly $1 trillion of outstanding credit card debt. We're at the highest we've ever been, which is so unbelievably depressing to think about. We actually, coming out of 2008, had less and less people having credit card debt. But as time passed, all of a sudden, people started accruing it again. Unfortunately, of all the active card holders during the second quarter of 2022, the American Bankers Association found that the majority of them carried a balance at some point. So in that 6-month period at the end of 2022, most people using their credit card carried a balance. That is very depressing. That also means most people who have a credit card should not have a credit card, because they're getting screwed from the product. And on top of that, to make it even worse, if we look at the amount of outstanding credit card balances that are at least 30 days overdue, we're looking at over 2% in the fourth quarter of 2022. Meaning, not only are people carrying credit card balances, a solid chunk of them are falling behind. It actually shows that they are getting financially destroyed and they can't maintain paying off the credit card anymore. What's the takeaway from this piece? If you're bragging about your credit card's interest rate, you probably are paying that interest rate and you shouldn't have a credit card. Credit cards should only be available for people who won't allow themselves to be shackled by it, who will make sure their money is working for them and not for the credit card companies and the financial industry as a whole. But wait, John, you might say, what happens if you have an emergency and you max out your credit card? You have an unexpected medical bill. What are you going to do? That's why I have an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of my necessary living expenses set aside. If something comes up, I have months of my living expenses ready to go in cash in a high yield savings account that I can withdraw from and pay off my credit card. After I withdraw from my emergency fund, I will quickly take money from my income and refill the emergency fund so I can't be caught flat-footed. You take money from the emergency fund, deal with the emergency, including paying off my credit card, and then quickly hurl my money, eat rice and beans, and hurl all my income I can at refilling the emergency fund so another emergency can't cripple my financial future. If you don't have an emergency fund, you probably shouldn't have a credit card. Do not become shackled by credit card debt. Make sure having a credit card is appropriate for you, and make sure when you brag about it, you're bragging about the fact that you're paying it off every month and getting some money back from the industry via rewards, as opposed to saying, I only pay 6% on my credit card debt.